time, Zakir?
It's time for the State of Podcast, Alex.
Episode 21?
Sure.
Sure. You aren't actually sure yourself. What are we talking about today?
Jordan Peele, Us, Get Out, Candyman, I don't know.
You were so lost there. Well, no, horror special, because I think the best time to do a horror film series is obviously in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, because no horror films ever kind of really come out in October.
For some weird reason.
You know, it's always just one big one and that's it, and everyone strays away from it.
But why? Surely it makes sense to release
No, because too much competition.
But what? No. Whatever comes out.
Well, because if you think about it, you're not going to have, like, I know this tangent already, but, you know, less than a minute and we're in a tangent, but it's because there's always, like, the big AAA blockbuster type horror film out, and the horror films, which are obviously going to be a lot better, tend to, like, stray away from October.
Okay, just name one that has come out. I don't remember.
Halloween.
Sorry, in the last, like, couple of years.
Well, in 2020.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's forget about reboots.
No, well, if you think about it, like, the sequel to Halloween, the new Halloween series come out, Halloween Kills, is coming out in October. So no one wanted to sort of compete with that.
Wow.
Really? Sure, like, Invisible Man, even though it's not really a horror film, that came out in February.
Yeah.
Saw tends to come out in springtime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you never really see horror films. Like, even when did Get Out come out? Get Out came out in the summer, I think. Or April, around that time. It was spring or summertime. And Us came out in January. Or February, I think it was January. And Jordan Peele's next film was actually coming out in January as well.
Mm-hmm. Which film? I've done very little research.
It's called like Home or None. No, None. I think it's called None or something. N-O-N-E.
It's not The Nun.
No, not The Nun. But we'll move on to that later. But of course, we're talking about Get Out, Us, the original Candyman from 1992, and we'll touch on our thoughts and opinions on the new one and how we feel it could be better than the original. So I watched the 3 Candyman movies. First one, obviously being normal and fine, and because you know I'm a big fan of Hellraiser and Clive Barker in general, that was fine. Watched the second one, that was interminable, right? Start watching the third one, direct to DVD or video or whatever it was, 1999. Got half an hour in. I shouldn't have got that far in. It was that bad. Because, like, I find it kind of weird, even Candyman in general, just because usually those kinds of franchises go on for like 20 films. There was only 3 films. You know what I mean? It was a bit strange in a way.
I love a shitty horror movie.
But, you see, I think, you know, with like Jordan Peele, for example.
Yeah.
Get Out was sort of in that mid-2010s when... I think 2010s were kind of when indie horror films were on the rise compared to like horror films. Like horror films kind of dampened down. Obviously you have stuff like The Conjuring, which was still making money. But there wasn't that much of that going on.
They're not really horror.
No. But I think like that era was like post-90s. That's what horror was to people, and that's what horror kind of was for a long period of time. And it was that, and then the only ones you'd have is like remakes of original. Like, you know, they did the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween. You know, they tried to do them. Chucky, you know, Child's Play, they did one of them. Like, there was just this need to, how do we, you know, bring horror back? And it was just, we'll go back to the old stuff and just remake it. But what you sort of see with it was just the indie genre, like It Follows, for example.
It's good.
Yeah, and like Lights Out, which was by David F. Sandberg, because it was sort of like, you know, like David F. Sandberg did like a short film in like 2011, I think, Lights Out. which was just like, a wee small short film. I think it was like 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long. And it was just kind of like horror in its roots, even though it was that short. And then obviously it got seen by a big studio, and then they did Lights Out in 2013 as a actual feature film. So it was sort of like the people that sort of brought horror back to its roots were just small indie, studios and like directors, if you know what I mean. Because like
horror, I think people struggle to get it right though. Well, yeah, no, they do.
Well, because I think horror is such a great. It usually tends to make money because they're always low budget, and they always make a ton of money. Like the Saw franchise.
That's not horror though.
Well,
that's
it's
just...
technically horror, but you know what I mean. Like they're always low budget.
It's just gore though.
They're always low budget.
Yeah.
But they always make a ton of money. I think that's what like studios kind of wanted to try and bring it back to.
There's so many subgenres though.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm not really a big fan of slasher or gore.
Yeah.
But I will watch it. But I don't think that's scary. I think that's just kind of cheap. Unless it's done very well.
Yeah, because like, I think, Get Out, for example, was a good horror film. Well, I think because like I've talked about it in the Quiet Place podcast where I was just saying how horror, most of the time, horror films are glorified thrillers. If you know what I mean. I
think it's more about how it makes you feel rather than trying to scare you out of nowhere, though, because they're more the things that make you that you actually are scared of that are horrifying are not really monsters and things in the dark.
Yeah.
It's more like social norms and things that like we have come to accept in society.
But I would just say they're more thrillers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, people talk about, Shining, one of the scariest horror films. It's a thriller. I wouldn't count it as a horror film. What's horrorful about, like, this is why I don't like the term horror in general, because there's
drama.
so many. No, because it's not
broad.
But it's exactly, because it's not as simple as saying, that's an action movie, that's an adventure movie.
Yeah. There's
so many subgenres of horror that it is its own thing completely.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. That's why I find it so hard to talk about sometimes. Like, but is this horror? I always bring up the question when I'm talking about horror. I'm just like, but what is horror really?
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I couldn't give you an answer. Yeah. I don't know.
Because like.
I just know what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy.
Because that's why, like, I sort of say, like, even It Follows, I just feel it as a thriller.
Yeah.
Like, it's very suspenseful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a slow burn.
Yeah, like, the same with, like, Get Out and Us.
Yeah.
Whereas Candyman, I'm like, because I think I have an association with horror being gore, though. Like, there has to be a ton of blood.
Yeah.
And, like, specifically slashers. Like, I count all slashers as horror.
Yeah.
Because I think when you think horror, that's what you think of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I only associate horror with, like, those kind of 80s and 90s ones that came out.
Like Halloween.
Halloween and Friday the 13th and shit like that. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
They're creepy slasher
but
gore.
There's a ton of like there's sort of an all-rounder.
Over-sexualization of women.
Yeah.
Or just sex in general is kind of...
Yeah, pretty much. Well, there's men. I'm just thinking, but there's a lot of men as well.
Yeah. It's not really...
Yeah. It's
kind of doing stupid things
but they're just made for teens.
Yeah.
And to get teens into the cinema.
Pretty much, yeah. But they're more just to kind of,
night.
like... So you can get with someone in the corner.
Yeah.
Really. Like, you didn't have to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Whereas now, whenever we watch, like, kind of horror films that come out now, like Jordan Peele stuff, you're, like, properly engaging with it and you're thinking about the material. Yeah,
because I think the 2010s is when horror became art house films.
Yeah.
Well, I think you could say the same for a lot, and they sort of really kicked off. Like, because I think it's also tied into the fact that anyone can make a film now.
Pretty much.
Like, post-2010, everyone had a phone. So, as an example, but also the fact that cameras were a lot cheaper than they used to be, and just overall.
I mean, YouTube anyone has a film before then, though. Like, how many Sharknado movies did they
make? Yeah. No, but that's just the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, so many bad movies. You just wonder how.
But that was the intention. But I think people, like, I'm fair with the people who like them, ironically.
But I just be looking at, like, you know, there's like a Christmas movies channel that my
yeah,
auntie and my
that's
granny
always
watch.
on, and it's always films that
oh.
look like they're from the 80s but were filmed last year.
Yeah, and they're all like, there's one actor that you might kind of know, and they all follow like the
this
same...
actor from the 80s in this minor role. Because the film was so low budget that we couldn't even get them.
They're always just like about a person who's moved to the city and then they move back home for no reason, and then they are like, oh, maybe I prefer country life. And all
I don't know.
Anyway, the point is, anyone can make a movie.
Yeah.
But it's much easier now because everything is more accessible.
You know, and like that's how I kind of view like Get Out, for example, and also kind of I do view them more in the... I can't compare them to slasher films or like horror in that sort of way. I can compare them to like Quiet Place because it's that indie art house, if you know what I mean, kind of genre. Like I can compare them more to The Shining than I can to Friday the 13th, if you know what I mean. Yeah. You know, like I think I do kind of rate these as kind of like art house horror.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was weird because I hadn't seen Get Out, but everyone I knew had, and I had avoided it for so long. I think the only reason I watched it was like the trailer for Us had come out, and I was like, well, I'm gonna watch this, I may as well watch the previous film.
Yeah.
So I watched Get Out then, and I was like, oh right, this is actually more of a psychological thriller than...
Yeah.
You know, but I did enjoy it. I'm not, saying, oh, this is shit, because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I'm saying, oh, it's even better because I enjoyed it a lot more. Yeah. But I think it also opened up a lot more people to... Because it was very low budget. It kind of opened up a lot more people to just art house films in general, if you know what I mean. Because I think the only kind of art house films people have seen are like the major ones, like, your Kubricks. Or, your P.T. Andersons, or, if you know what I mean. But no, I enjoy Get Out. What do you think of Get Out?
Yeah, I wanted to watch Get Out for ages, but I like watching, like, kind of horror films with other people. Yeah. Not because I get scared, because I don't actually get scared. It's more just, like, it's the setting. I just like when other people are there. I think it, like, I know, creates a better atmosphere. But I preferred Get Out to Us. Well, I did at the start, but now I'm kind of leaning more towards Us. I don't really know. I love Daniel Kaluuya. Yeah, I think he's really strong. The creepiest part about that film for me is the girlfriend Rose. Yeah, she is so... Like, because obviously, whatever, spoilers, obviously.
Once again, it's this podcast, we talk about spoilers anyway.
But, like, whenever you kind of cop on that she's obviously, like, the psychopath. And it's just so kind of bizarre to think that she knows she knew how to con him into thinking, like, she was, like, liberal and forward-thinking and everything. And then... But she just played him the whole time, like she's actually really backwards. Like, I think that the idea that she was so self-aware, it still didn't care, is what was kind of scary for me. I know like that was the freakiest part to me. Yeah, because you kind of, whenever you met the family, you were all like, oh, they're all racist idiots. Like, but her, there was always a question mark over, and I think that's what like made me feel really uneasy watching it then.
Because, like, I think the cinematography is really good in that film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, to be fair, even in Us is very good. Like, just simple, but done really well. Like, I compare it to Nolan or, your Kubrick, where it's just, when you get cinematography and you make it really simple, but it comes out brilliant, I think that's kind of, like, just perfect. Especially for this film, But, like... I really do enjoy it. Yeah. Acting's amazing. Like Daniel Kaluuya, I always forget and not just this film, just any time I'm watching him in general, I always forget he's English. Like, I always forget, because you see him with an English accent. It is kind of like looking at Christian Bale, like, oh yeah, you're not like American. Like, yeah. No, it's very good. Oh, great director, JB. I think
yeah, I can't believe that's what his debut.
Well, it was a big surprise because no one thought, what? You're gonna you're not doing comedy anymore? You're gonna do a horror film? What?
Well, it is kind of satirical, but it's that kind of
yeah.
Like you were laughing at it,
yeah,
you were just kind of like, oh.
No, but there was some. I thought it kind of worked well because even in Us as well, there are some jokes and it's funny because you can clearly tell it's just like, oh, it's a bit dark. I'm just gonna probably put in a joke here to lighten the mood a wee bit. Like, let's not be too dark about this. It's good, it is kind of depressing here.
But it's also very like natural, I think, as well, because obviously, hopefully all of these situations are very hypothetical. Like they're not really going to happen. There's not going to be loads of doppelgangers running around. Yeah. But like people do naturally like use humor to kind of suppress their fear a little bit whenever they're in like really weird situations. So actually comedy really works in horror because it actually feels natural.
Well, I think the whole the whole plot and the twist and stuff, it works well because even though it's so like science fiction based and unrealistic, it's still very grounded. Yeah. If you know what I mean? Like, it's still very in believable. Both. Yeah, in both as well. Like, you could be like, you know what, maybe this could happen, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not like a slasher film where it's like, oh, there's a supernatural entity following us. It's kind of just like, this might, this could happen. Like, it's a bit weird. Obviously, it won't happen. But
I think that's what makes it so creepy, though. Yeah. Like, it's a wee bit of, I know this is like this is not really anything kind of parallels, but, like Uncanny Valley thing.
Yeah, the Uncanny Valley.
Whenever, like, something is slightly possible, it's so much more freaky than watching something that is not, you just know can't happen. Like Freddy Krueger in comparison to, like, the family, like the cult family in Get Out. That's what makes it so creepy, is that there probably is families out there that are, they're not like probably doing
I don't think they're taking brains experiments. I don't think they're doing that.
I don't think they're supplying bodies and all that kind of stuff, but there is, like, it's in the realm of possibilities when it comes to like the people and kind of the culture that is surrounding that. Anyways, sorry, tangent over.
Well, I think the soundtrack again is even great in this. I mean, to be honest, in these three films, I think the soundtrack's great. Which is very hard to find, and if you get like two films from the same director even can be hard to be like, okay, they're really interesting but different.
Well, I'm assuming Candyman is going to be the same. I have high hopes for Candyman, though.
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, well, I'm hoping, because I think... Well, we'll talk about that later, but... Yeah. Let's just talk about Jordan Peele and then we'll move on to Candyman. Because the same guy who composed both of these films, which I think is kind of interesting, because it's not very often where you would get... Like, when you watch a Nolan film, and you get like two Nolan films, and Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack for... You'd know Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack for both of those films, because it's such a distinct style. But even though like these two films have quite similar styles, they're very different when it comes to Get Out and Us. Like, even though it is composed by the same person, it's complete. I don't know. I just love. I just love the soundtracks for these films. It's so good. I don't even know how to describe it. You know what I mean? Like,
I can't remember.
They're very haunting but eerie.
But is kind of classical and Get Out? No, I can't remember.
Yeah, to a degree. Well, to be fair, so's Us in a way, but it's also kind of like haunting and twisted.
Yeah, I do remember.
But Get Out's the same as well.
Yeah.
But it's very kind of like mind blending. I don't know how to describe the soundtrack. They're very good though.
Oh, I know. The opening theme in Get Out. It's like in a different language, but like it's in an actual language, and the song translates to something like "Run Away" or "Listen to Your Ancestors Run" or something. Which I thought was like, oh, that's very nice.
I like little subtle things like that.
Yeah. But whenever I do actually remember that, whenever you listen to it, it does feel like it does feel like it's a chant or something, like it is a warning or something. Which I love. I love things like that. I'm like, I need more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I find it kind of cool because he's very good at directing the actors, because actors all do their roles very well, and out of both films, I've never been like, oh, that's shit acting.
Yeah.
You know, they're always quite good.
Even for the children.
Yeah.
And else, like,
and that's quite hard to get a performance of the children. Like,
yeah.
You know.
They're not bad, and there's not really any bad performances. No. But it also helps that some phenomenal actors in the cast as well. Yeah. Yeah. But definitely good direction. Yeah.
Once again, Kira made notes, and she's looking at the notes here. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I asked about the classical thing in Get Out because of the theme of like slavery and the old South and stuff. Like I can't remember the actual musical element to it, which is annoying me because I remember the themes and that would have tied in really well, but I can't remember. That was such a nothing point, really. But yeah, I know what you think. No.
So do you guys else talk about when it comes to that?
No, I just wanted to know, do you remember if it was...
I don't know.
Yeah, I need to go listen to the soundtrack before. I didn't have time. I didn't have enough time.
I enjoyed the soundtrack to Lisa.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, because like I know like when it comes to like even slashers, like each, you know, everyone knows Freddy Krueger's theme, everyone knows, you know, Mike Myers' theme, everyone knows fucking Pinhead theme, you know, they all have their own kind of, even Candyman, you know, they all have their own signature soundtrack in a way.
Yeah.
Which I think
I said that about horror earlier, and you were like, "Nah, that's not true." I was like, "Oh, but horror is easier to have like a distinctive."
Oh, not all the time, because like if you think about it, like It Follows, I can't.
Oh, I can't pin anything from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing iconic. Whereas when I know from Get Out and also, I'm like, oh yeah, class soundtrack, that's unique. You know. Yeah. That suits the film.
Yeah, but I was even thinking old stuff that is even shit. They have fairly decent themes.
Because like I think the only kind of like horror films that weren't slashers and you know that had unique soundtracks that are memorable were like old Dario Argento films, you know, old Italian horror films. Okay. Where they had this sort of like 80s synthy kind of music, but it was very haunting. Because I know like even John Carpenter films alone have their own unique style, but that's mainly because he does his own soundtracks. Yeah. You know, which I thought was kind of cool, like in a way. But they all have like even you know soundtrack for The Thing.
Well, no, I don't. Good. But
I
haven't seen any John Carpenter films.
Right, fair enough.
Yes.
But you probably have, but you didn't know.
No, I don't think I've seen any of his stuff. But I just kind of mean like I feel like without on a low budget you can make a decent horror track because if you keep everything fairly scarce.
Yeah, like if you only use it in key moments.
Yeah.
Like if you watch Halloween, how often does the soundtrack play? It's mostly not playing, and that's quite low budget.
Yeah.
But when it does play, it's like, alright, shit, something's going on. Like.
Yeah, I feel like it can be kept like quite minimalistic, and then yeah, it works that way.
Because I think even for those films, it was because back in those films were like really low budget because they could only afford like one soundtrack anyway. Yeah. That's why Friday the 13th only had like one soundtrack. Yeah. Because it was like made for like $250,000 or something like, or even less, if you know what I mean.
But sometimes nothing. Like silence it does work better in horror. That's what I mean. Horror is easier.
Well, Quiet Place.
Yeah, but that works really well because
that's the whole premise of the film.
It is from the perspective of what it would be like if you couldn't hear anything, and then living in a world of silence. But that's my point about horror is that you can be much more experimental, and when it pays off, it can really pay off. But you can get away with doing kind of something basic.
Yeah. So you're not saying like a rom-com could pull that off?
No, I mean, I've yet to see it.
I remember. I know this is a weird tangent, but I remember just seeing an interview of Nolan. He was just like, "Yeah, I'll probably never do a rom-com," and I was just like, "Yeah, like anyone would have expected you to do one."
Kills off the woman straight away.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That's what he would.
That would be a rom-com. That'd be very dark.
Yeah, but Nolan just his thing for killing wives.
Yeah, God love Emma Thompson. Emma Thomas. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like Emma Thompson. I read that was filmed in 23 days. Get Out.
I have no doubt. Yeah, but if you think about it, it's all in one location, really.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Like, the only times it's not in the one location is if it's, at the start.
Yeah.
And that's really it.
Yeah, just the drive to the... he, whenever they were filming his scenes, so like Daniel Kaluuya's scenes, like, he apparently had it down. Like, they would do it like 5 or 6 takes or whatever. And he would have it like perfected every single time.
Yeah, because he could cry on cue. Yeah. Literally,
I can imagine him being really like.
Well, that's his first big
his performance.
That was his first big.
Yeah.
Role. I mean, I'd seen him in Kick-Ass 2 before, but.
Well, it's just weird because I've seen Black Panther before I seen that.
Oh, right, fair enough.
So, I was like, oh my god, it's the guy from Black Panther was in it. But, like, really.
See, I went to see Black Panther. I was like, oh my god, it was Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah. But I really liked him in Black Panther. Even though I know he didn't have much to do. Yeah, but
very minor.
What he did when he wasn't in it, I really enjoyed him. And I really
I think the problem with Black Panther is there is too many characters in that film.
We don't even get enough of T'Challa, like.
Sadly.
I don't want to talk about it.
It is quite sad. That was a year ago, like yesterday, wasn't it?
I did see something.
He died a year ago yesterday or the day before. Yeah, a couple of days ago.
Oh, that's mental.
It's mad.
All of them are really symbolic.
What? What is?
All the films.
What films? What, just Get Out?
Oh, the ones we're talking about. Get Out,
but
Us.
I didn't know what you meant. Do you mean Get Out, Us, and Candyman, or just Get Out and Us?
Well, I don't remember Candyman.
We'll just leave Candyman till the end, yeah.
But he's really. But is that a thing in horror as well? Like, symbols is really important.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it.
I think that's why I like horror though, because you have to like be really.
But people forget it's very hard to do. Right. Horror.
Yeah.
Like anyone can make a horror film, but it's probably gonna be shit. Like,
yeah.
You have to really think, because like I like horror when it's the story's interesting. I don't care about it's big and flashy and bold. I only care about those to complement the story.
Yeah.
I prefer the story be interesting. The story shit, I don't care. Watching if I'm not interested, I don't care how well it's presented. I think that just goes for films in general for me, though. That being said, you can have basically no story and it's more interesting. Like Quiet Place, which kind of no story.
Yeah.
And I'm still interested.
That's just the world. That is so fascinating. Yeah. I do love the plots of both films, both Get Out and Us, though. It's so interesting.
But like even like Candyman's interesting because it all goes into the whole urban myths aspect. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, it's not really something you'd ever. It's like it's so obvious that it should be associated with horror.
Yeah.
But you had never really seen something like that.
Well, that always like confuses me because obviously we have to make films for next year, like short films. Like if I was gonna make something to do with horror, I would look into Celtic mythology for inspiration. Yeah. But there's actually not really much out there, and yet there's so much mythology, and mythology's weird. Like, well, that's really, really scary sometimes. I don't understand why it's not a bigger thing.
Yeah, but that's what they do with like if you look at like even like Japanese kaiju films, all the monsters are like very reminiscent of, Japanese mythology.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. I think that's sort of like. Well, it's not something that's missing. I just think it's something overlooked.
But there is an opening.
Oh yeah.
Definitely something to
Oh, you could always make something if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But any other thoughts on Get Out, or we move on to else?
No, I liked whenever I was reading about Jordan Peele, like in his opinion on it. Like he's obviously he's very he explains like a lot of the meaning behind everything in his films, which I don't really like. I will say that.
Why do you rather be up to interpretation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I think they're all fairly valid. They don't have to be explained.
Oh right, yeah, okay.
Like you clearly know what Get Out is about.
No, I know, but some people.
I know. I don't know how you could miss. I know,
but there's a lot of people who watch films and don't really care and just are like, "Geez, that was a good film. Plot was all right." You know, they don't really go in looking for symbolism or.
Like I do like it when directors do talk about their work and they do explain things or they do like confirm,
Well, or they're just there for like fans who want to know more about this singular film because obviously we're not going to get a sequel. It's not one of those kind of films.
I know, but they offered. They said if he was asked if he was offered to do a second film, would he do it? And he was like, only if the story was fitting. He wouldn't do it for a cash grab.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love that.
Well, I thought that was good about like Us, for example. Like, he just went on and did something completely new, and he's going on now and doing something completely. You know, he's just moving on to something else completely, all the time.
Yeah, I think that's so much better. Like, because I don't think you can go anywhere with the story, really.
Well, no, because like even a lot of horror directors get stuck in their own universe, sort of a thing. Like,
yeah, and you're better off just getting out straight away.
Yeah,
get out.
Yeah, no, because like even like stuff like like John Carpenter. Like he did Halloween, and then he wrote the second one.
Yeah.
And then he just dipped into his own thing. Like, he didn't want to, like, and then you have, like, Wes Craven, for example.
Yeah.
Which, I kind of respect Wes Craven to a degree. Yeah. Not when it comes to Scream, but when it comes to...
What are you talking about?
Fucking despise that series.
I love it.
But, like, when it comes to, like... Because he did Nightmare on Elm Street. And then he did Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which was like a completely new thing set in that. You know what I mean? Though, like even though it was sort of a sequel, kind of a weird thing set in that universe thing, it was like 10, 15 years later, or whatever, and did something completely new with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like you see like your James Wan, for example, type that. Oh, we'll make a sequel, and we'll make another sequel, and we'll make a spin-off, and it's just leave it.
Everything is about sequels now, though. Well, did we already talk about this? Yeah, we talked about this when it was the Disney thing.
What, ever since the cinematic universe now?
Wait, no, that wasn't Us, was it?
No, I don't think so.
That was you and Adam.
Yeah.
And I just listened to it and I forgot I wasn't part of the conversation. But everything you
Kira,
said,
that's what a podcast meant to be.
Yeah.
The audience is meant to be like part of the conversation.
I remember listening to it and I had like already knew everything because I thought we were going to do it. Yeah. And then I already had everything said in my head, but I actually forgot I didn't have that conversation with you. But yeah, everything's a reboot or a sequel.
Yeah. And they're going to find it kind of hard to... Like, this is why it's like, even though, like, if I don't like stuff, like I hated Us when it came out originally, and then I rewatched it recently, I kind of like it now, you know?
Yeah, I'd say it's like, better on the rewatch.
But not just that, it's like, even though I just, didn't like the film when it came out, I'm still like, I know, but just because I don't like it doesn't mean I don't want, this. I like these original stories, you know what I mean? I rather you come out with an original story, and I don't like it, than... a remake, I don't like it because it's like, well, I'd rather have a brand new thing that I don't like.
Yeah,
weird thing to say, I know.
Make new stuff for us.
I'd rather have a brand new experience, even though I don't enjoy it, than the same one rehashed and don't enjoy it.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Well, there's also nothing new coming with any of them reboots, or remakes, or whatever. Yeah. There's nothing really. No. It's only kind of changing, making it more modern. I don't know.
Well, we'll move on to this when we talk about Candyman, I feel.
Well, yeah,
it's more fitting, but,
So we can move on to Us.
Well, we'll move on to Us, yeah.
Before we move on to Us, what is his thing with rabbits? In both films?
Was there one in Get Out?
There's a lot of rabbit... No, well, the opening song is Run, Rabbit, Run. Remember, because I was like to you, oh my god, that song's so freaky.
Yeah.
Run, rabbit, run.
No, but what, yeah.
Run. But he, like, rabbits... Well, I know he said in an interview that he has a fear of rabbits.
That's probably why then. A lot of.
But I like I
Yeah, but you
love
would
that. That's so
Well,
weird.
that's your fear, yeah.
No, I understand why you would.
Well, like
be
it makes
afraid of
sense in
rabbits.
us because like the actual purpose in the universe in us is because rabbits breed,
Yeah,
so they're an easy source of food
yeah.
for underground. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That was like symbolically. I'm not sure what it means, but
It's just interesting.
yeah.
Rabbits kind of freak me out though.
Why? Because they only live like 6 years.
No, it's more because there's so many of them. Like
Yeah.
there's so many rabbits in the world.
Yeah, they don't live that long.
Yeah, I know, but they just.
But they breed, yeah.
so excessively.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, they're not here for long. They may as well.
Yeah, but like the mess they meet, they leave.
Yeah. But
Yeah, we can move on.
well, like Alan, like I watched Us in cinema. I hate it. I really hate this film. And I'll tell you what, it's because the trailer just spoils the twist. Like, because whoever's seen the trailer, as soon as you watch the film, you're like, all right, I know the twist.
Yeah.
Because the trailer just gives away a twist, but subtly it doesn't. It's not like, oh, here, this is the twist. Shoving it down your throat. It's just a wee small thing that you could have easily have cut from the trailer.
Yeah.
So this is why, like, when my first experience was tarnished, because all I'm thinking is, well, I know the twist, but like watching it again, I had a different experience because, like, even though I know everything that happens in the film, I'll just view this again.
Yeah.
Like, I try to go into the mindset of, imagine you hadn't seen the trailer.
Well, that's why I don't watch trailers.
Yeah, no, but like I imagine I went there, but imagine you didn't know the twist and I was watching it, and I did enjoy it even just without the whole twist. I feel like the twist kind of ruins the film. I don't think it's necessary.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I don't think it's needed.
Yeah.
I think it's, again, it's like a staple in horror where you have to have a twist. You don't need a twist.
I do understand the twist in the sense of what it means. It is more
meaningful.
meaningful.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
But I wish really it had been like the twist.
No, I think it should have been like The Prestige, where it was just, oh, there you go. It was literally telling you the whole time and you knew.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to admit it.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that couldn't be it. That sort of a way.
Yeah, they told you at the start.
Yeah, but they told you in sort of a way of, oh, but maybe they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree because I didn't really like it.
I think it ruins it.
I was like, oh no.
I don't think it's needed, even though like it does work.
I think that's the point, though.
In the film, yeah.
It makes you feel weird because you've been rooting for the bad guy the whole time, but really she's not a bad guy because she was only trying to survive. But she is a bad guy. Like it's just,
it makes you like as much as I do like
everything.
I like going out of a film even though I hate it and questioning everything because I like a film that makes me question things. Yeah, I rather than go and see a generic film come up and be like, yeah, any thoughts on the film? Not really. Like I rather have these weird thoughts.
Yeah.
I think that's what films are for. They're meant to fuck with you and be like, right, look at this perspective.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? I don't know. Fuck. My whole perspective has changed now.
Well, I just felt if I had to study Get Out or Us, I would choose study Us.
Yeah.
Because I think
it's more interesting.
Yeah. And that it's nothing to do with...
It's nothing to do... Like, even though I prefer Get Out as a film...
I actually prefer that film,
I just think Us is more interesting.
Yeah.
Like, if you can go way... There's so much symbolism...
Yeah.
Like, even though Get Out is just like every scene nearly of Us there is so much in there.
Yeah.
Even though I do think it's a lot better. I haven't watched it again.
The only thing again though I will say is I listened to Jordan Peele talk about the meaning of the film, and he was like, "Yeah, it's about America," and I was like, yeah, but I didn't need you to say it was about America. You should say it's open to interpretation because all countries work in that similar way where it's like there is always the other. Like there is kind of... Because there's classism and racism in every country. I just was like, whenever he said it was America, I was like, oh...
Well, I think
that was
obvious even with the connection of like Hands Across America and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I think it's kind of hard for someone who lives in a country to, especially like Americans. I'm not dissing America, by the way. I'm just saying when you're in America,
you only see America.
Like whereas when you're in Europe, any country in Europe, it's not you're rooted towards one sort of country, you're rooted towards them all, and you see, I think it's a lot more different. I don't know what, I mean, because realistically, America's still bigger than Europe.
I know, yeah.
But, you know, it's just that kind of a way, if you know what I mean.
I think, that's exactly how I feel, is that America only see America, they don't, it's not
But I don't blame them.
No, I do understand it, and, like, I think it definitely does work, and it makes so much sense in the film.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with all the different things they talk about, you know. But I just didn't need him to come out and say, oh, it's about America. You know, like, obviously, it's called Us. Like, if you break it down a little bit, you know.
If you add an A,
US,
basically
yeah, like, you know, it's really there. The Hands Across America thing, yeah.
But I do think, even the cinematography is better this time around.
Oh,
even better.
Class.
You know, like there's not a bad shot in that.
No.
And like all the complaints I had really have dampened down from my second experience. Just because I was just so rage filled watching it, I was like, I fucking know the twist. You fuck's sake. You know,
I think I'll enjoy it as much more watching it again.
Yeah, I think it's the one I'd watch multiple times. Like I think I've gotten everything out of Get Out that I've seen. I've only seen it twice. Like, even in my first viewing, I think I got everything out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Us, it's like, oh, I could watch that again.
Yeah.
You know. Like, it's just, you know, like, I think it's even interesting, these podcasts, like, because I almost can treat these podcasts as, like, a document of my opinions on, you know, a film or a game or whatever at that time. And, like, listening back to it, you know, a year from now, 6 months from now, I'll be like, oh yeah, well, my perspective's kind of changed. You know, I've watched this again, or I've played this again, I think differently about that thing. Like, if I made a podcast about Us when it came out, I would have shat in that film. You know, that's just showing how different, even when that came out, 3 years ago? No, 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago now, like. And my opinion's completely changed watching it a second time. You know.
Yeah. One of the things that we're, you know, obviously when we were talking about like horror in general, I think the doppelganger thing is so freaky in real life. Like,
go on.
It's so unsettling anyway to have it the way it was portrayed in film, the way they used it in the film. Is what made the film scary. Well, I think for me,
I have this sick obsession with doppelgangers.
Well, I just think doppelgangers are.
I love the concept. I love the doppelganger concept.
But it does not freak you out.
No, I love it though. I find it so interesting. It
does freak you out, but you do like it. I
don't know. It's just the same person but two completely different. Like, you know, it's just an interesting concept. It doesn't freak me out. I think it's just because I'm so interested in it that I'm not freaked out. It's probably because I'm just a sick obsession about it. But like, any film with doppelganger in it, I'm just, oh yeah, I'd like this, I'll watch, you know, because I just like the idea of a singular person but being completely different.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like two versions of the same person, but they're completely different even though they're the same person.
Yeah.
I just love that idea. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because then it breaks down to like, well, were you always meant to be, were you always going to be this, you know, like this? But when you bring in a doppelganger situation, it proves that no, you're built towards your surroundings and your experiences rather than just you who you're. No, you disagree.
Well, that's just nature versus nurture, and nobody has the answer to that. So
yeah, fair enough.
But I do like your point, though. I do appreciate it. But yeah,
because it's just the weird thing is, like in Us, for example. Them two would have always have been like that. Like, if you think about it, like, had she not kidnapped her and switched roles of her and lived that life, that other version of her would have became that version anyways, and the one that was down in underground would have been like that anyways. If you know what I mean. I think the only thing I don't like about this film is the whole fate thing.
I don't know if
I don't like the fate thing.
Because they're not the same person.
No, but they changed given their surroundings. They both changed because of their surroundings.
They wouldn't have been... Oh...
Of course they would have been the same person.
Yeah, but she could talk when she was Right, the real, what's her name? Adelaide? Is that the character's name?
I actually don't know. I don't actually know.
Well, the main doll.
Main character. Lupita
one,
Nyong'o's character.
Yeah, but the original one, the one that did before she got swapped.
Right, we'll call 1 and 2. So 1 went down.
1 went down, got swapped, and then 2
2
is
went
the one
and
that
lived
lives
the life.
up.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, but would 1 not have been different because she would have had a different relationship with her mother and her father? She probably wouldn't have had to express herself through dance, learn it like through art, therapy and stuff.
Yeah, but this is my whole thing. This all ties down to this thing of, because it's weird in that film, for example, because it does deal with the whole, no matter what's happening, they're both doing the same thing, but just completely differently. Because it's 2 different worlds, basically. You know how they're both doing ballet? They both would have still been doing ballet. Because you remember how, like, she's walking through the fun fair, and the other one's walking through the weird made-up fun fair underground. They're still doing the same thing.
Yeah, but my point is, she wouldn't have had to do ballet because she wouldn't have had to do therapy. Because the only reason 2 done therapy was because she couldn't speak and the parents were worried about her. But had 1 stayed above ground the whole time, she mightn't have had to do any art therapy. So she, like...
No, but...
would she have changed, though? That's what I mean.
Well, it's just that sort of butterfly effect where, well, just because of 1 changed, is that... Well, I suppose so, because her dad left her. But maybe her dad would have left anyways, because there was obviously problems there.
Yeah.
So you don't really know. It's a hard thing to... And they don't go into it, so you can't really assume.
Yeah.
It's more up to interpretation.
Well, that's why I really like it.
Yeah, no, I do, because like, you can talk more about that film because there's so much.
Yeah.
Whereas Get Out, everyone agrees on everything about that film because there's nothing to kind of question.
Yeah, no, it is. Very...
You know, even morally, it's just like, yeah, well, obviously it's fucked up. Like, I mean, you can't really question how fucked up this is.
Yeah. Well, you could, but you'd be wrong. So.
Well, it's just interesting because you can ask so many questions of us. Why the fuck is there an underground facility? Why the fuck was there this test going? You know, what the fuck? Like, I understand there was the whole idea of, you know, it was there because the whole plan was they were going to, like, control... It was a means of, like, the government was going to try and control individuals from above. But then they just abandoned it, so everything just kind of got a bit fucked up, like...
I love how seedy all worlds are, though. Like, how... Like, that... going on underground is so creepy. Yeah. And so, like, very unsettling. I think that actually makes the film like that is what makes it
Well, that's
horror.
the creepy aspect of it. Not even the doppelganger thing.
Yeah. Well, that's just... Well, for me...
It's just part of it.
There's a part about the doppelgangers... Well, because doppelgangers in, like, mythology have always been associated with being a bad omen. Or, I mean, you know, they always have kind of, like... something bad connected to them. So whenever I watch anything with doppelgangers and it freaks me out, I just don't like it. And it's always this kind of thing in the back of your head is if you met your doppelganger, like if you had a doppelganger and you met them, like how would you react? Like how does that work?
Yeah.
I just find it so creepy.
I think it's also interesting because it is sort of almost impossible. Like, you know, you have stuff like identical twins, but they're always different people, really. You know, they are 2 different people.
Yeah, but you're related to them.
No, I know what you mean.
Doppelganger,
exactly.
you have no connection
exactly.
to, which
That's
is what's freaky.
Yeah, and like a doppelganger is almost impossible. Like, yeah, you can swab someone's DNA and make a clone of them, but there's going to be an age difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, even if that baby's just born, there's going to be a 9-month difference. It's going to be complete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sort of, you know, it is impossible.
Yeah.
It's just, it is an interesting, weird thing. No, what are you gonna say? Anything else?
I like the colours. I like the use of red, but I didn't really look into it too much. It's kind of creepy the way they're all around.
Because Get Out's more kind of blue.
Yeah. But I was reading up a bit. I didn't look too much into it. But there's the scene, do you know when they're all out at the garden party thing? And apparently everybody was wearing some bit of red on them, except for
Daniel
Daniel Kaluuya, who's wearing blue.
I love how we don't know the names.
What's his name, Chris?
But I love how we don't really know the names of the we just know the actors who play them.
They're more iconic.
I know. Yeah, pretty much, to be honest. To be fair, they all have like generic names in the film, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, Chris, or just Daniel Kaluuya, cooler name. Go on.
But red is such a kind of like it's such a trigger. Because it's like kind of.
Well, just associated with something wrong.
Yeah.
Like The Godfather does it differently with like orange juice, for example. Yeah, but it is typically seen as something bad's gonna happen. Yeah.
And then blue is obviously more calming, which is really cool. But yeah, I just think the whole red thing it kind of freaks me out, but I really love it. But I did whenever it did like do the twist at the end, I kind of had copped on. I didn't know the whole movie, I'll be honest. I didn't cop on the whole movie that she had changed over. But I just thought there was something weird about it. I thought it was going to be about her having to address the trauma of her childhood. I thought that was where the film was going to go. But actually it was something completely different, which I really like, because the twist did get me in the sense that I was expecting something and it was like it did spur my expectations, but I just thought like
it's such a good film even without it.
Without the twist, yeah.
It's not even needed.
But I do like it because you are just kind of like, is she the villain or is she just the victim?
I know, because like this is also the worst thing, because like you think about like as much as you do come out of cinema thinking, or even after watching it, you come out thinking just about the ending.
Yeah.
I think there's so much more interesting stuff in the film than the ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's so annoying because all you're focused on is that ending. Because obviously the ending's there to make you think about the ending. Because that's what happens with most films. You usually remember the ending.
Yeah.
Unless it was really shit. Like, even if it was shit, you still remember it. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's we both agree in terms of that. Get Out. I do prefer this film. I do think it's a better film. Us is just more interesting. It makes you think more. Like you'll think, like it'll probably be a film I always kind of go back to.
Yeah.
Whereas Get Out, I'm like, I don't need to watch this. I know kind of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just think I'm excited for his future projects because I think he's really good at world building.
Well, I think it's kind of mad because. Is it a year apart? No, 2 years apart or a year apart? Those films were. No, 2 years apart.
2 years apart, I think.
Yeah, just 2 years apart though, because like that came out in January or something or whatever. But nowadays had 3 years. Next one will be interesting, if you know what I mean. Because obviously he made them back to back. Get Out and Us. Like as soon as Get Out came out, oh yeah, whatever you want, you can make it yourself. Yeah. You know, like because it made like 10 times the amount it made, or 20 times. I don't know how much it made. Tons of money, right? But yeah, no, I think it will be interesting. And moving on to
Candyman.
Now, well, no, you start. How do you?
Well, I was. It's
gonna...
not that fresh in my memory, right. But I actually enjoyed Candyman a lot more than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Like the original.
Yeah, 1992. Yeah.
I haven't seen the new one yet.
Yeah.
But
we're doing this for the new one.
Yeah. I think those things of the 90s, obviously they all have their stereotypes that haven't really been broke. You know, like whenever they do things with stereotypes nowadays, there's a satirical element to it.
Yeah.
Whereas like there's not any satire in it. So I find it very like distracting or something to the plot. Like, you know, you just have the main white doll, the only survivor. You know, I just like it's just too, I don't know. It's not experimental enough, or like there's not enough happening in it to keep my attention anymore because there's no commentary on anything going on. Or
well, it was weird because Candyman was always kind of treated as the black people's slasher horror icon.
Yeah.
Because of Candyman himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And him having this tragic backstory which was all about race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he is a victim.
Yeah.
You know, And that's why I'm very excited to see no. But 'cause I think the new one's gonna be a really unique and interesting interpretation.
Yeah.
You know, I think Nia DaCosta, although I haven't seen any films where I'm very excited to see this.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna go more into the whole race aspect, as much as the first one obviously does.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the whole film's about, you know, like it's all.
But I do have to ask the question, which I know it shouldn't be an issue, but it just in my head, is the main character the mother? No, the main character is your man.
In what? What are you talking about? In this new one?
In the new
Candyman.
Yeah. Candyman. It is your man.
Yeah, but he's the baby and...
He's a baby.
Yeah, he plays the baby in... Or not, wait, the actor didn't play the baby, but you know, the baby in the original is the main character in this new one coming out.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
I have to say, I know she was young in the first Candyman film. She's aged so well. 30 years. She's aged. She's good age today. I know. Yeah.
She's really cool though. I liked her in the original. But my point was, and this is like, I don't really have my opinion, and my opinion is irrelevant really when it comes to this kind of thing. But like, in the original Candyman, I just found the stereotype of it is set in a black community, and it's just a white woman.
The white woman comes in. Yeah,
it seems like it's a bit too on the nose for me now watching it, that I can't enjoy. Like, I don't
that's
enjoy
why I
it
think the new
much.
one's gonna be interesting because you have a black protagonist.
Yeah.
And you have the link to the first film.
And it's connected to the first one.
Yeah. To a degree. Like, I know it's a loose... Like, I think it's spiritual successor they're doing it as.
Okay.
Which is, I think... The fans of the original will enjoy this. You know what I mean? I think it'll work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it'll also be like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
I think works in that sort of a way.
I'm also excited for him.
Well, I'm excited to see the mixture of... Because, like, from the trailers alone that I've seen, you're going to see the mixture of slasher, kind of horror, with art house horror.
Yeah. And
I'm very interested to see that. You know what I mean? Like, that's what really drew me to the film.
Yeah.
Especially, obviously,
Obviously,
Abdul-Mateen second.
Yeah.
The coolest guy ever. He plays fucking Black Manta. Like... and Cal in Watchmen.
Yeah.
And he was in Us as well.
Yeah, well, I forgot about him in Us,
yeah,
actually. Overlooked it. I didn't think... I wish he was in it more.
And he was in Charge Cow 7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great, well, he's also another reason why I'm very excited
just
for the film.
Cool. Like, well, obviously, I just fell in love with him after watching
even though we haven't
Watchmen.
seen the film yet... Oh, yeah. Well, even though we haven't seen the film yet, it is, I think Tony Todd will be returning.
Oh.
You know.
He's so fucking cool.
I think he's so underrated.
He's so
really good.
terrifying, but he also has kind of
the voice. It's a deep voice
he
as
is
well.
Perfect.
He's such a haunting voice.
Yeah.
Well, like, because I saw the sequel and it really annoyed me because his monologue is amazing. You know what I mean? I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's brilliant monologue. Not even in the sequel. Well, no, they sort of half do it in the sequel. I'm like, alright, they'll wait till the end of the film to do the no, didn't do it. It's such a good monologue. Because I know it's obviously going to be in this one. Because it was in the trailer and I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I
think Yaya was doing movies, but I think Yaya was doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was ooh.
Interesting. I don't understand the whole concept of him though.
Candyman?
What was it that he? Well, I understand.
They retconned in the sequel. What'd you hear?
Oh no! Well, I know that what they done was that he obviously was a
with
victim.
Like this because he was a painter.
Yeah.
I think this really annoys me, but I'm really excited for the new one because they really go into the whole painting aspect.
Oh, nice.
Because obviously, Yaya's character is an artist. Or a photographer.
Is he a photographer?
I think he's a photographer.
Of course he's a fucking photographer.
It's always photographer.
He's always a photographer. It's just so... It's such a
He's not in Watchmen.
No, he's not. It's in like an indie film.
Oh, they're always like
They're
an artist.
always
Yeah, I know
they're
what you
always a
mean. I know what you
photographer
mean.
because they're
'Cause
like
the writer,
the camera,
yeah, I know,
like
I
the
know,
complete
I know.
unique perspective. They have a different way of looking at the world, kind of.
Yeah, but no, because his wife, I
overdone.
think his girlfriend or wife, and that she's an artist and she's painting and stuff. I like that sort of because it's something weirdly enough. The third one delves into where it was all about the paintings and his paintings that he paint, Candyman's paintings and stuff, which I was like, Jesus, really interesting, but it's such a shit film. But the good thing about this new one is Philip Glass is, well, I don't know if he's returning to fully compose it, but obviously his original composed music will be used as the score.
Yeah.
And I think Candyman's score is so haunting.
Yeah,
But
that's
just
it. I
that
do
Philip
remember that
Glass.
one. Yeah.
Like it just sounds like Philip Glass piece. Like, it's fucking beautiful. Like, but I think it'll be interesting the way they implement it into the film. If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to see how it works. If you know what I mean. Like, if it works well, or it could just be a shit film. But I hope not, because I'm very excited for it.
Yes.
I'm more excited for this than going in to watch Get Out. Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting. I think the original was. It's not my favorite slasher. It's up there. It's not the worst. I want to say it's not the best either, but I can see why, because it was just there was so much potential in it. Yeah. Which I think will be used in this adaptation. Yeah. If you know what I mean.
The one thing I would think they didn't fully, they touched on it, but they didn't go full blown for it, was the whole not really mythology, but you know, the whole story surrounding him. Yeah. Like the whole, like the...
His backstory.
Yeah, but what is that called? Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Not, I was going to say nursery rhyme, but that's not what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
You know when people talk about...
Urban myth.
Urban myth, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have really done a lot more with that. I kind of hope they will.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because, like, it is something I'm very excited for this. Because I think my complaints with... Like, as much as I do actually like the original Candyman, it's just, I think it had so much potential that wasn't so... Like, I think it had more potential than a lot of other slashers. Yeah. I thought it was more interesting than a lot of other slashers. Like, I compare it to Hellraiser in terms of it's it's sort of like, I think it's probably because they're both written by Clive Barker, but I'm more interested in those than your like Friday the 13th, or because the story's interesting. There's a lot of depth to it. And sadly, it didn't get as many. I wish it got like 20 sequels, because I think they would have eventually have made something really interesting. But no, I'm excited. I think this one will surpass my expectations, I hope. Let's pray. But yeah, should we wrap it up? Yeah. So thank you for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Say It Podcast. Once again, as always, don't go on Twitter. We don't use it. Even though if you want to even check, we're at State of Podcast. And thank you to Buzzsprout for hosting as always. And I'll be back next week with Dave for, I think, The Ascent. So that should be interesting. But yeah, alright.